At 180 million years, the forests of Borneo are the oldest on Earth. This island is a diverse reserve of flora, fauna, and tribal society. Traces of man date back 40,000 years. Borneo today is home to more than 30 distinct tribes whose roots can be traced back for centuries. Since the 1980s, an unrestrained onslaught by timber companies from around the globe has devoured Borneo's coastal forests at a pace unprecedented anywhere else in the world. Clear-cutting, large hydroelectric projects, and monoculture plantations are now consuming this treasure. This relentless advance of modern civilization, which has reached the interior mountains that many tribes call home, has resulted in the loss of traditional lands and cultures, along with their intimate and ancient relationship to the forest. Borneo has been an alluring mystery to explorers, traders, and anthropologists. Once known as part of the Spice Islands, for more than a millennium, traders from India, China, and the Middle East all coveted this nautical trade route to the East Indies. Looking at the island's scattered tribes, one can see cultural traces left behind by these ancient travelers. Today, Islam is dominant in Borneo's coastal regions, while Christianity prevails along the inland rivers. River travel is still the primary method of reaching the island's interior. Such a journey can take up to a week by dugout canoe. Along the rivers, one will find the longhouses of the Kenyah. Still exhibiting some of their ancient and animistic beliefs, the Kenyah are primarily rice farmers, but engage also in fishing and hunting. Living deep in the mountainous jungle, the Pinan are the last of the world's nomadic hunter-gatherers. They are the only ones still practicing the traditional art of swordsmithing. The headwaters in central Borneo are homeland to the Kenyah. The Kenyah live along the dangerous white water and are revered for their skill in handling the dugout canoe. Their lifestyle today is still similar to the culture documented by 19th century explorers. Historically, the longhouse stood 20 feet or more off the ground, making it easier to defend against hostile attacks. A longhouse could shelter up to 600 people under a single roof. A veranda running the length of the longhouse was used for work and social gatherings in the past, and still is today. Each family has their own apartment attached to the veranda. But in the past, the veranda was home to more than just the tribe's people. It was also the honored place for hanging human skulls, trophies taken in battle. Directly in front of the longhouse is the sacred ceremonial site, where statues of the Balis, or deities, stand watch over the village. The village shaman, or dayong, performs rituals to appease both the deities and the spirits, hoping to ensure prosperity and good fortune for the village. The dayong offers a fertile chicken egg on a prayer stick. Humbling himself and the village before the supreme deity, Bali Penilong, the shaman prays for a successful rice harvest. Taking a forked stick, He hooks the good luck and pulls it to the ground, securing it for the village. At the base of the prayer stick that holds the fertile egg, he gives a special offering of rice so the spirits may also share in the tribe's prosperity. The traditional Kenyah economy is based on the production of dry rice, a process dependent on the method known as slash-and-burn farming. Each family owns and works their own field by clearing the virgin jungle and cultivating farmland. This land is then passed on through the family line. It is this central process that likely developed the first ideas of private property and moved the Kenyah away from a communal system. Adat, the traditional law, must first be observed when seeking the best plot of land. A multitude of omens must be interpreted, such as which birds and insects are present. These omens will dictate the potential for a successful farm. Once the forest is cleared and burned, a lingering bed of thick ash will fertilize the first crop of mountain rice. After 2 seasons of growing rice, secondary crops like bananas, pineapples, and vegetables are planted in small plots and left to grow wild for another year or 2 until the forest reclaims the land. This hillside in the Kenyah forest depicts the stages of jungle reclamation. It is clear that this is a favored region, which has undergone many generations of use. After the soil becomes stripped of its nutrients, the Kenyah allow it to rest, sometimes as long as 30 years, before the slash-and-burn cycle begins again. The rice fields can be up to a day's journey by canoe and foot from the longhouse. Tama, the rice farmer, has built a small farmhouse to live in while attending to the field. Another law of Adat is that only family members are allowed to carry out the initial harvesting of the crop. As a sign of respect for the close relationship between the spirit of the rice and the farmer, rice harvested during the first day cannot be given away to other people. For Tama and many of the tribal people in Borneo, rice farming is the core of their society. More than just the principal source of food, the rice paddy is spiritually significant and the foundation of the community. For example, it is prohibited to make a lot of noise in the field or in the hut, as this is believed to anger the spirits of the rice and consequently decrease the volume of harvest. But there exists an even greater link between the spirits of the rice and the community's drive for prosperity. Historically, the spiritual wealth of a longhouse tribe would benefit the most from the capture of an enemy's soul. Headhunting was common throughout Southeast Asia. The taking of a head guaranteed blessings and could be directly attributed to the tribe's health and general well-being. To appease and win over the victim's spirit, the head is renamed and given offerings of rice, wine, and tobacco. The victim swiftly makes the transition from fallen enemy to guardian. The Kenyah warrior would take a head using an ornate parang, the traditional sword of tribal beheading. With cunning and stealth, ambushing an enemy was the usual practice. On a head-hunting raid, there was no difference between a warrior's head or that of a woman's taken while she worked in the rice field, or even that of an innocent child. Westerners are often surprised by how friendly and hospitable they find the Kenyah. They exhibit characteristics that run in stark contrast to the barbaric beliefs in their way of life. Shed hunting was likely developed by the farming society. In addition to aiding the health of the community, the captured spirit would be invoked to ensure a successful harvest of the rice paddy. The rice is now spread out on mats to dry in the midday sun. The labor-intensive process of separating the rice kernels from the stalk is accomplished by the simple but effective method of foot thrashing. All family members do this throughout the day. A coarse strainer is now used to sift and separate the rice. The kernels are then tossed into the air, allowing the breeze to carry away any remaining bits of the shaft. After this process, the rice kernels are again laid out on the mats to finish drying in the sun. Later in the day, the farmer will check the rice to see if it has dried to the desired degree for storage. With years of practice, he can take one bite and tell whether or not it is ready to be stored. The Kenyah grow at least 50 different varieties of rice on each plot of land. The rice is now ready for storage, and the farmer will take the basket of rice back to the longhouse. Generations of tribal societies pass on sacred truths about their natural environment. Small communities, such as the Kenyah, have a profound understanding of the land. This allows their farming practices to remain in direct harmony with the ecosystem. The rice is stored in special houses raised on stilts to protect against rodents and birds. Each family has its own rice house, and it would be considered taboo for a non-family member to climb up and enter another family's rice house. The family stores its valuables here in case of the unthinkable, such as a fire in the longhouse. With the husk still intact, the rice is stored in baskets. As it is needed, a family member will gather enough for 3 or 4 days' use at a time. To have enough food for a year, a family of 5 would need 3 of these rice houses filled to ensure that they do not go hungry before the beginning of next year's harvest. Before it can be cooked, the rice needs to be dehusked. The rice is separated by pounding. It is done like this throughout Borneo. While both men and women perform this work, the burden customarily falls upon the women. Tama shares the work with an uncle and a cousin. Although the immediate family owns its individual plot, the planting, harvesting, and processing of large farm acreage involves a network of the extended family. Labor is traded within the families to help tackle the many tasks. The farmers use the wind to clean the last of the rice. It is now ready for the longhouse kitchen. Like farmers everywhere, there is always time for a smoke and discussion about the harvest and prospects for next year. Although diverse in their own ways, many Borneo tribes have a common reliance on farming. Their habitat, ritual lives, and customary rites are all dependent on agriculture.